views and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the hosts and guests, and not necessarily those of the staff and management of WWDB-TV.
Whether she's walking the red carpet or doing interviews, you'll find her with celebrities and all the latest news. She's here, she's there, she's everywhere, she's always on the go. So sit back, relax, and get ready, 'cause it's the Corey Taylor Talks Show.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Corey Taylor Talks. I'm excited to have my guest today. He is a personal friend of mine, and he is doing some amazing things, and I'm just really excited to have him on and to talk about everything that's going on. So I have Mr. Chris Ivan with us. So,
no, thank
hi.
you. Thank you for having me on your show. I'm super excited to just talk to you and just finally get to sit down and talk and just tell you what I've been going through this journey of getting ready to release my album.
Yes, yeah. So, like you said, releasing an album and lots of exciting things,
Yes.
music videos, just so many different stuff.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Before we get into all that, why don't we start from the very beginning?
Okay.
And why don't we talk about how you actually got into music in the first place?
Got into music because I was born into a really big family, and we're very multicultural. So I heard all sorts of music at a young age, and then also being raised in the church in the early days of hearing the gospel or like the choir, like gospel music, all the layers that they have in it. It was just so beautiful and caught my ear at such a young age. And then as I grew up, I started to develop my own beliefs and my own sound, but it was because of hearing music in the church that caught my ear
Right.
for music and the tunes. But as growing up, I definitely developed my own craft, my own sound, and what I like in life, because everyone is different. And
Oh, yeah.
they have their rights to.
Right.
So
That's cool.
super excited.
Yeah. So where does your inspiration and stuff come from?
My inspiration comes from. Ooh, that's a good one. I would like to say. I've been through a lot.
Yeah.
So, growing up and just seeing my family, and how my parents were very young when they had me, and by the age of, I would think, 22, 23, they already had 3 kids.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So I just saw my mom and dad just hustle their whole life.
Yeah.
And my mom was also had an opportunity to be in a girl group in the early 90s.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
So I always heard her sing too. And it was so vividly that I remember of Beyonce releasing her song Irreplaceable. I believe that's what it's called. I don't
Yes.
need the beehive coming after me. Really, I don't need that. But I remember her singing that so much, and that it caught my attention. And I looked up to, I still look up to my mom and her singing. But then I fell in love with female vocalists because their range and their ability to jump between notes and riffs are way more easier to do than a man. Because a man has they have a range, but it's very limited to what a woman could do. So I grew up looking up to Beyonce. Who else? Oh, Adam Lambert, because he had a range. Mitch from Pentatonics, Demi Lovato, people who had vocal agility, people who were powerhouses, and that's who I spent my time developing. Oh, and Whitney Houston and Mariah Carey. Like, you just have to say that that they impacted your life, because not one person doesn't know their songs.
Right.
But it was an early stage that I realized that I was like, okay, I want to sing like these performers. So I would sing like them and try to learn their tones, their timing, and I looked up to them, because I still do, because they're idols to me, and I just love them. And not every guy has a vocal range like Adam Lambert or Michael Jackson
Right.
or Prince. And I realized at a young age that, okay, my vocal range is quite big. So that's why it gave me the abilities to practice female artists, because I could hit their notes without straining or without sounding awful.
That's awesome.
So, yeah.
And so do you write your own songs?
Oh, yes. I'm very big on songwriting.
Okay.
I know that there's a lot of artists that have people write for them, and that is completely okay.
Yeah.
But when I decided to take this avenue of music, this beautiful, creative path, I was like, I want to write about my life, what I've been through, because I am not the type of person, I don't like to speak for someone else.
Right.
I don't want to say that I've done this, done that, and it's all a lie. I like
Right.
to say that I'm very authentic, because what's the point of lying?
Right.
Like, what? I don't understand.
Right.
Like, it doesn't benefit anybody. So I do write my songs. My first song that I wrote for this album was Eclipse, and I started writing it, and I started having I remember I had my coworker Camilo help, my best friend Joe Frizzell come help, and then another good friend of mine, Naomi. I can never pronounce her last name, so I'm not even going to do that. But we all started trying to work with it, and I thought, oh my God, let me light some candles, let me put some incense, just to like have the room feel in some type of way, so we could have this really good writing session. And I got completely nowhere.
Oh.
I was trying too hard.
Right.
And then the only word that we got was eclipse. So I was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? I love this title, but I need to write it. And I was at work, and then the first verse, chorus, it just hit me. It just hit me. And I was like, oh my gosh. Like, when I wasn't expecting it,
Okay.
it just hit me. And then the whole song came out to be, and I started writing it. And in that very first song, I took in a lot of input. And then I realized by the end of the song, I was like, I don't need everyone's input, because this is my art.
That's true.
This is my way of expressing my life.
Yeah.
And even though other people were in my stage of life when I was writing this song, that doesn't mean I needed them to impact their lives in my song. So when I wrote the song, it had a complete different, it just sounded completely different. And then when I got into the studio, I was like, I want something different. I want something different. So we switched up the whole melody in a matter of minutes. And then it came out to be Eclipse. But my writing process has definitely changed throughout this year and a half of creating this album. Because at one point, I had my friends from college, and they would work the night shifts at the Love Store. So I would just go over and just write my songs in the Love Store. And they weren't songs that fit the theme of that store. They were just really like catchy pop songs. And I felt so free in that atmosphere, because people are not judging.
Right.
They go in for what they need and what to get, and that's it. And no one's pointing the finger. You don't feel judging. No one's looking at you weird. And that's when I wrote some of my favorite songs. And then I started having people impact my life that I've never had before.
Right.
So they were changing. My emotions were just all over the place. So I was writing songs about individuals or groups or a concept that I didn't like that someone did. But I just started to realize that there is so much power within yourself if you just believe in yourself.
Yeah.
And that's what I would definitely tell adults, young adults, preteens, teens, children, if they could grasp the concept that you have so much power within your mind, and if you utilize it the correct way, life will, you will go far in life.
Oh, yeah.
But life is no joke, and you only have one shot at it.
That's true.
So that's how I do my writing.
That's cool. And how long does it typically take to write one song?
Oh, it honestly varies. Eclipse took 3 weeks.
Oh,
I had a song called Black Glitter that literally took like an hour.
gotcha. So just like completely.
Yeah, and then I had Mi Amor. I was in a 3-hour English course at CSN, which I don't understand why they need any class more than an hour and a half. But it just hit me. I was in class and I just wrote the whole song.
Wow.
And that is like maybe one of my favorite songs excuse me, to listen to and just jam out. So it honestly, it varies. It really does.
Yeah, that's funny. So it's just kind of all over the place. And so now, yes, let's talk about your new album. So this show came out this 22nd. So it's all already out now, correct?
Not the single, the last single of my album.
The last single of your album. Okay.
Yes. So Biggest Battle is my 4th single of my first album, Biggest Battle. And this song, it means so much to me because I was just going through a lot at the end of 2019. When you think that life is going so good, life reminds you that it could take a turn in a second.
Mm-hmm.
So the end of 2019 really rocked my world, and I was just going through so much, and I just had to stop and realize that, okay, don't get in your head too much, because if you get in your head, you're trapped. It's like a cell. So I started writing the lyrics, and the whole thing came out to me. And then other events happened that occurred in the ending of 2019 that also impacted the song. And then I reached out to none other than Joe Lujan,
Right.
which that's how we met.
That's right.
On
Russ.
Russ.
3.
Which is, I love. Anything that his work, anything that he touches, he doesn't, he is so phenomenal, and it's not even funny.
Yes.
And I asked him, I was like, I know that you've been wanting to do this. I know it's a dream of yours. So why don't you add recording artists to all the other things
Everything
you're known
else,
for?
Right.
So he was like, okay. He went into the studio at separate times than me because his schedule is like a whole nother story. My schedule is crazy, so we couldn't go at the same times. And he went in and he was talking about how he's so nervous, and I was just like, just breathe. My producer Blake, which is an amazing producer out here in Vegas, Blake Wisner, he took care of Joe when he went into the studio. It was a whole new realm, he said. So he recorded his part, and it was amazing. And he got me tripping, thinking that because he was talking himself down when I knew. I was like, okay, come on, like, I know what you're capable of. Let's just do it. So when he went in, it was nothing less than gold. Like, I loved it. My producer loved it, and my producer was like, okay, well, Joe Lujan, you get the full package. You director, writer, recording artist now. So like,
Right.
what can you do that you can't do?
Right.
So the opportunity for him getting on the song was something that I was kind of like, ugh, this is gonna be out there. I don't know, but I was just like, you don't know until you ask. So he said, yeah. And now the song is out on all music platforms, iTunes, Spotify, Tidal, Apple Music. Literally, the list goes on. There's so much music platforms these days. I can't even keep
There
count. But that is the song, the track that I named my album, and that it resonated with me so much, because when I first started writing the album, I just freshly got out of high school, and I went to a private school where everything was given to me, and when I got out of high school, my parents were like, "Hey, you're living in our house, rent free, so everything else is on you." So I really didn't know what working was because my parents gave it to me so darn good. In the first semester going into the next like school year, as if there was going to be like a 13th year, that first semester, I hit a wall in complete like depression because I didn't know what work was, and it's crazy to say that, but there's so many kids these days, and especially like my generation, they don't know what work is, and I didn't know what it was until I was like, I want to do music. Before then, I was just doing what I had to do at college, work, and just be in the slump and dark. And music, honestly, is what saved my life. Yeah. And you hear that so many times from other artists, but for an artist, for a person not hearing, or for a person that isn't an artist hearing that, it may sound like, oh, here's another story like this. But music has such a powerful way of filling a void in your life that you didn't know that was missing until it just, boom, it was at your door. Yeah. And then I realized, oh my gosh, I have to work to pay for everything. Yeah. I wasn't that naive as I just sounded, but
no, I know what you mean though.
I just had to grind. Yeah. So on top of going to school full time, between 12 and 15 credits, I would work 50 plus hours a week, and do anywhere between 4 to 24 hours of studio time in the week. So it was a big change for everyone because my family was a very tight family, and then I was always absent. Right. I was working, and they didn't understand what it was to be completely devoted as a musician. Yeah. You could be devoted as a writer, someone who goes to school, a devoted mom, but they could all be present at home doing their work in the room. But I always had to be out working and recording, and that's when I definitely realized here in Vegas, customer service, because people tip, and if you do not, and honestly, in the beginning, I learned it. I was like, oh my gosh, I need to be nice for people to tip me. But then I realized, I was like, that's not the person I am. I just want people to come in and have a wonderful time with their family at a restaurant. Yeah. I just want them to have their best time and live their best lives because they also work hard for their money. So if they tip you, that means that they liked your service. And that's when everything changed in my life. That yes, money is a thing that we need, but you could also be a very authentic human and give people great customer service, great manners. Like, it seems that a lot of people like to put down my generation, saying that none of us behave right, or none of us know what working is, or just very materialistic. But there are people like myself that spread the word, because I tell all my friends, it's like, you guys don't see the bigger picture. I know that going to college and they're partying and just having a good time, but they don't see the bigger picture.
Right.
And not a lot of people do. So when I grasped that concept, I went full throttle in the studio with writing, and just it took my world to a whole another level.
Yeah.
And then at first I was like, oh my God, I need sleep. Now for me to run, and I know it's not going to last forever, my age has a huge impact on this. But I maybe need like 2-3 hours of sleep, and then I'll be good for 18.
Wow.
Not everyone could do that.
Right.
So I love it now, because I realize there's not enough hours in the day to get your stuff
There's
done.
not, right.
So I just love what I do. But I would say the biggest battle in my life was honestly growing up. My parents gave me everything. And this is where, like, I'm going to get very real, because as an artist, I don't want to sugarcoat anything. This is my life that I'm opening up to the world.
Right.
I don't need to lie, like I said earlier. I don't need to sugarcoat anything. But my biggest battle growing up, and that's another reason why I connected to music, is when I was younger, I was sexually assaulted
Oh God, I'm so sorry.
by someone. And I just grew up all alone, and I also had earbuds, so I would just listen to music. And people don't like to put that in media,
Right.
but this is real life. Not everything could be peaches and cream and all handed
Right.
to you. And that's when music was my guide. And growing up, when that incident occurred at such a young age, I just grew up very messed up, because I was ashamed. I was lost. Because when you're 6, you don't know.
Of course.
I don't know
No,
what's
that's
happening.
horrifying.
But I just grew up with all this confusion. And then, but music was always there.
Yeah.
And I would relate to messages and stories like Demi Lovato,
Right.
because she's been through so much,
Right.
literally. Stories like Christina Aguilera,
Yeah.
like Britney Spears, people who've been through hell. And I saw that, and I was like, these are real artists showing their real stories. They're not sugarcoat everything. Their whole lives are in the media, and they've had substance abuse. Demi Lovato, Britney Spears had a whole breakdown. But that's their lives, and the media likes to put it there and like glamify it. But I now understand as an artist that what I went through when I was younger, I wouldn't change it, because that's who I am now. And now I'm writing about things that happened, 15 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
Like, but it's so therapeutic.
Right.
And that was my biggest battle, because I've learned
Of course.
that that I could be anything that I want But sometimes in life, people take it upon their own actions to take your pride,
Yeah.
to take your joy, to take your life. And what I would encourage to listeners, anyone of any age, is that you are never too young, too old to realize that what you have inside of you is something that no one else has. You are unique. You are beautiful. You are an amazing person, and there's only one of you. So do what you have to do. Uproot yourself out of certain situations. Leave your friend group. Stick up for the victim that's getting bullied by your best friend. I've seen this happen so many times. And you only have one chance to make that impact before the next moment's gone.
Right.
You only have one chance. Sorry. That life is just too short.
Yeah.
And I realized that, okay, writing this album, I've been through a lot. And then I realized, going through this album, I was like, I'm writing about all this stuff that happened to me. And then I started to think about my next album. Because I just don't want to do one. Who just wants to do one? I started to think, okay, when you think about I started thinking, because I love, like, the Egyptian Empire, Roman Empire. I love that type of stuff. And there was just never one battle. There was multiple battles.
Of course.
And you battle your whole life through different things, family, work. You just battle.
Right.
And then I was thinking deeper. I was like, what can be even bigger than someone tampering your childhood at such a young age? And then that's when I decided, someone brought, we called the song Biggest Battle because it correlated. And then someone in the studio said, why don't you just call it that your album? Like, you literally go through so much, Chris, that, like, there's times where my producer has asked me, he was like, are you okay?
Yeah.
Or he will say, okay, maybe we should write this a little differently because it's too open. But I said, but this is my life. And there's so much people that don't like to speak about getting, like, sexually molested or assaulted or even raped because they're ashamed. But you should never be ashamed of anything because it wasn't your fault.
Right.
And that's what I had to realize. It wasn't my fault.
Right. Of course not.
So then we thought, and the biggest battle that I'll go through was taking place during my childhood, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't kind of stick with you.
Right.
But that definitely was my biggest battle. And I don't know, I'll have several more battles to come. But I'm already a warrior,
That's right.
so I'm ready to knock it out. But that's why I named the album Biggest Battle.
Yeah. Well, I think that's so important. First of all, I'm so sorry that happened to you, and especially at a young age, I can't even imagine. But you are here now, and you are a survivor. And you took such a horrible, truly one of the worst experiences that can happen to anyone, especially a child. But you made it into something beautiful now that can help so many people. And I think that's a really amazing thing that people can really look up to. So thank you so much for doing that and sharing your story.
It is, honestly, when I think about it, I I get emotional every time I
Of course.
think about it. But I thank my younger self for never doing the crazy thoughts that were in my head. And I thank myself now because I look at myself in the mirror all the time, not because I'm conceited. It's because I literally have full-blown conversations with myself, and I have like that's gonna sound weird. I have conversations myself, but
No.
more people do it than you think.
No.
Of just saying it's time for you to share your story.
Yeah.
It's time for you to be honest. It's time for you to take a stand, and at the same time, there's not a lot of guy artists that will talk about this stuff.
Right.
You will see a lot of female artists, but why? Because even in the community or the music community, there's barriers.
Right.
Why is there barriers? This is 2019.
Right.
Oh my God, look at me. It's 2020. But there's still barriers.
Yeah. No, you're right.
And there shouldn't be. So I also would thank all of my family for like keeping me just love, like surrounded by love. So, and I'm just thankful for you to also giving me a platform for people to hear this story.
Yeah, well, that goes without saying, but I'm just so happy we had you on and that you're able to talk about this and your album. And what date does your actual whole album come out?
Ooh. I don't know the date yet.
Okay.
But it would be released in May.
Okay.
I'm an even type of person. I do not like odd numbers. It really bothers me. So it will be an even number of
Okay.
May. So
Okay.
I'm super excited. And by this time, Eclipse will already be out, my music video. So I have Time, I have Eclipse, Biggest Battle. So I have some music videos that people could start seeing my content, listening to my music on iTunes, Apple Music, Spotify, Tidal, and then also, I just have to say this, Chris Ivan, which is my artist name, it also correlates with my legal name that my parents gave to me at birth, which was Christian Ivan Ballesteros Jr. And I didn't want to use that whole thing because that's just way too long. I don't even say that very often, but I want it to be as authentic to myself. I didn't want to be named something else that I'm not, which just personally, that's what I wanted to do. So I took Chris out of Christian and then used my middle name, and then but oh my God, picking my artist name was the hardest. But then when we said Chris Ivan, it just rolled off the tongue, and that's how that came about.
No, it's perfect. Well, I'm so glad that the album's coming out and that you have 3 songs out now, correct?
So, February 14th was my last song, which was my fourth single.
Okay. Oh, so fourth. Okay.
And then the album has a lot more songs than just 4. A lot.
Do you know how many songs?
It's in the double digits. I'll just say that.
Okay.
I'll just say that.
Okay.
But I'm excited for people to listen.
Oh, I'm excited. I'm sure everyone's really excited to have it out. And I, once again, thank you so much for sharing your story and for putting it into your music and really being an inspiration for so many people.
Thank you.
And I'm sure everyone is just so excited to have the whole album out, and people are already loving the 4 singles that are out now.
Thank you. So it's one, like, if I had to put, like, one thing to also, like, push to the listeners is that if you are going through anything, like if you're going through literally anything, I'm human. Corey's human. We all go through stuff. But talk to someone. It doesn't matter what you're going through. Talk to someone you trust.
Yep.
If there's no one at home that you could trust, there's people at, let's say, school or your work. There's people that you could talk to.
Absolutely.
And I'm blessed that I have amazing people around me now that I could talk to, that love me, that support me. But you can't make a change if you don't speak up.
You're right. You're completely right.
So that's just what I would push, even before my album.
Yeah.
Because I know that there's so much people who are suffering because they're afraid to talk.
Of course.
So when I think about it as an artist, yes, I have my album, but what am I pushing as an artist? That people, I know that it's hard. I know it's hard. Trust me, I know it's hard. But once you talk to someone, you'll feel so free. And counseling, I know people, oh my God, counseling, therapists. But that's why they have that job, because they help.
Oh, yeah.
So just speak up and also love yourself through the midst of your own pain and journey. Because once you do get through that battle and see that you did it, it's just beautiful.
Yes. For sure. I love it. Well, thank you.
Thank
And where
you.
can people follow you and keep up to date and get your album, get your singles?
So y'all could follow me on Instagram at official Chris Ivan. And then same as my YouTube channel. So you could look up my singles that are out now. I'll go in order. Eclipse, Mi Amor, Time, and Biggest Battle. And you could listen to the singles and eventually buy my album on iTunes, Spotify, Tidal, Apple Music, Pandora. You could Shazam my music. But yeah, just definitely listen to my stuff, and just be yourself when you're listening to it.
So,
Yeah.
I love it. And thank you so much, Chris, for being
Thank
on.
you
You're the
so much.
best. Yeah, so excited to have you, and I'm so excited for this album to come out.
Thank you.
Yes, and thank you guys so much for watching. Please go and support Chris in any way you can. Buy the album, listen to the singles, do everything, watch the music videos. They're all going to be incredible, and I'm just so excited. So please go and support him, and thank you guys so much for watching. And remember, never give up, always believe, and you'll achieve. Thank you, and God bless.